Good morning. Good morning. We can do better. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Nick.
Hi, Nick.
It's not that meeting, is it? Thank you all for getting up at such an early hour and coming in here to be with other libertarians. I know when I get to be in a room like this with other libertarians, it really does give me a lot of energy, even if I am up at an ungodly hour with not enough coffee. I know that the reason you came down here this morning wasn't to hear me again. We have a very special guest who's taken a lot of time out of his schedule to come and be with us today. He actually, fun fact, was in Indianapolis yesterday and flew in last night just to be here and have breakfast with you. Judge Jim Gray is a former Peace Corps volunteer, a former assistant U.S. attorney, a former and a retired Orange County Superior Court judge. He was also our vice presidential nominee in 2012.
Yes.
He's a rock star for liberty. He is truly, truly dedicated to the cause. And he's still my favorite former prosecutor, which if anyone knows me, that means quite a bit. He's going to come up and speak to us today. After he speaks, he's brought along a copy of his book, The Voter's Handbook, Effective Solutions to America's Problems. I'm told that he may even inscribe it to the lucky winner of this book. I'm told that other state parties have auctioned off his book and gotten hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and I'm sure that Colorado will do better. So after he does speak, I'll be back and I'll be auctioning. And I hope that you will dig deep, because it all goes to the state party. It's his way of supporting us and supporting Lily and supporting the things that we're going to be doing in Colorado and around the country. So without any further introduction, Judge Jim Gray.
I'm a libertarian.
Yes.
I am proud to be a libertarian. And that word has to get out. Are you proud to be libertarians?
Yes.
Here, here. You know, we should be. We should be proud for what we've done. We should be proud for what we're doing. We should be proud for what we're going to do. I was deeply moved and proud to be your representative with the Governor Gary Johnson campaign in 2012. I took that responsibility seriously. We tried hard, we worked hard, and I was proud of what we were able to do. And I was proud of the people that I was able to meet and work with in order to get that done. I think we are the future of the United States of America, and the sooner the better.
Yes.
Yeah. We have three substantial problems that we are facing today. And the first is that we have regretfully allowed other people to label us.
Yes.
And as you have seen, they have labeled us as Darwinian, survival of the fittest. We don't believe in government at all. I made it. You can raise yourself by your bootstraps. And even worse, which is death for a political party, you don't care about me. And if you don't care, you lose. We can get intellectual conversations going and the rest of this, but if you don't care about me, you lose. Everybody, as they go into a voting booth, has one question on his or her mind. Everybody. We do, everyone else does too. And that is, if I vote for you or I vote for this, what's in it for me? Everybody. Now we as libertarians, we cherish our liberty and we know full well that if I can't have my liberty unless you have it too, so it's more egalitarian. But most people are concerned about, hey, if I vote for you, how is that going to put rice on my table? How is that going to get me or my son a job? How is that going to help me with my school? Whatever it is, you have to show them that you care about them and that voting for us will increase their lot. And we've not done that. we are basically kind of seen as conservative Republicans. And that's true to some degree. But we need to show folks, because we are literally in the mainstream of American political thought today. In the mainstream. We are what? Fiscally conservative and socially tolerant. Well, not quite. And here, to give you a tip and to tell you some things, I'm in the legal profession. Words mean something. And if you say, I am fiscally conservative, you're going to turn off a lot of people. It's kind of true. But you'll turn them off. Why? Fiscal? What does that mean? Wow, it sounds like you're lecturing me. It sounds like you're lording it over me. You're better than, you know, it's not a word I use very often. And anyone would do, maybe you think you're an economics professor, but you're not going to make anything. No. Conservative? If you say you're conservative, that will alienate pretty much every liberal one that's listening to you. We're not fiscally conservative. We're financially responsible. Oh yeah, I could do that. Financially responsible works. It's true, that's exactly what we are, but you have to understand, words impact people. And if you don't think so, how many of you have been driving and you see these traffic signs, slow traffic, keep right? I'm not slow traffic, so I'm going to stay in the left lane. But if instead you say, left lane to pass, oh, I'm not passing now, I'll get over in the right. It's the same thing, but words matter. We are what? We are financially responsible. That I am too. In my household, I have to be financially responsible. I want people in government actually to be financially responsible, or in my club or whatever else. That works. Fiscal conservative doesn't. Matters. Socially tolerant? Oh yes. You're wayward, Amy, you know, but I'll pat you on the head. It's okay. I mean, if you learn better, you'll learn their silly ways, but we'll tolerate it. That's not what no, we're socially accepting, aren't we? It means something. No one will accuse President Obama of being financially responsible. No one will accuse Mitt Romney of being socially accepting. But that's where most voters are. That's where we are. And if we get that message out there, we will change the labeling that we have. Now I can do this, as Nick said, I was in the Peace Corps. So, when I'm out in the public circuit, I say, you know, I care about people, I was in the Peace Corps. At least that alone will make people at least start listening to me. How do you show that what we talk about will matter to you? I think the biggest issue we've got, the strongest arrow in our quiver, is school choice. If you go and talk to folks, the unifying issue around the country at every level is, I want excellence for my children in school. Do they have it today? Some do. But mostly people in the lower economic levels have so many schools that are failing our children. It is an abomination. So, let's focus on that issue. It's a winner. And it's true. Ask people a question. I've asked this a whole lot. And that is, who is in a better position to decide where and how your children should be educated? You as the parent or the government? And never have I had somebody say the government. They all know that the parents are in the appropriate position to decide where and how their children should be educated. So how do you enforce that? If you allow, or set up a system for the parents to decide where their government money is going to be spent for the education of their children, you know something? They will demand excellence. And you know something else? They'll receive it. And we get that word across to them. Yes, I was in Indianapolis yesterday, and the shuttle driver, I was actually alone in the shuttle going back to the Indianapolis airport, and we were talking, and she's a teacher. She teaches 3rd grade. So I thought, you know, why not? We have some time. And I was asking her, what do you think about the whole idea of school choice? And vouchers has words mean something. It has a bad connotation now. So I basically don't say vouchers, I say coupons, you know, or scholarships. I don't care what you call it. And she didn't understand it. She had a visceral reaction against it Because she said, no, I think the we should have uniform quality around the nation, so the national government should step in and make sure that we have this. And I said, you know something? Do you have any good schools in the Indianapolis area? Well, yeah, actually in such and such a county, they have really good schools. The problem is if you get into Common Core, which is where we're going, and you have the same test for everybody, they're going to bring down the good schools down to the level of the others. Yeah, I can see that. That's what they might do. But if you have local control, all I want to do at the moment, I don't think the state should be involved in education either, but right now I'm just trying to get the federal government out of it and bring it more locally so the parents can decide. She starts thinking, it's going to take a little while. You can't educate people in an election. That's a truism. If you have to educate the electorate in order to win the election, you're cooked. Milton Friedman, a true hero of mine, said, you have to put things out there for people to think about, and then when the crisis comes along, they'll take what you have thought about off the shelf and employ it. And he's right, and this is what we have to do now. We have to put this word about school opportunity out there for people to understand, and then when the crisis comes more quickly, it'll be there. Regretfully, we have seen this in operation, because that so-called Patriot Act, I am told, was written far before 9/11. And then they just took it off the shelf, and when we were all scared and so concerned and fearful, they used that against us, plopped it in front of us. You know how quickly the Patriot Act passed after 9/11? It took about a month and a half, just unheard. It was already there. We need to do the same thing with regard to school choice. By the time she dropped me off at the airport, I kind of asked her again, well, you know, maybe so. And I said, you know, you're a teacher. Yes. And the good teachers will really thrive. They'll have the shackles taken off. They'll be able to teach the way they should. And they'll be in demand. And if you're not paid enough, you'll go to some other school will lure you away with better salaries. And by the way, today in schools, you realize, where's the money? Well, the money's in administration, so the better teachers, in effect, are lured out of the classroom and they go to administration. And every public school is top-heavy in administration. She's going, yeah, all of that's true. It's an educational process. Let's get started. We stand for this. This is what we stand for. Healthcare, same deal. But I care about you. This idea, let's repeal Obamacare, certainly so, but you have to replace it with something. If all we do is say, oh, it's evil and it's not working and ta-da-da-da, fine, and people may agree with us, we'll never repeal Obamacare unless we can show them that we care and that they're going to have something to replace it with. What should it be? Let's get the government out of healthcare. How many of you want your local Department of Motor Vehicles to be running your healthcare? And that's what we're going. Okay? No, I don't want that. Okay, so let's get the government out of these decisions. And then I'll look at my audience. Usually I say, you know, I'm older than most of you. When I was growing up in the 50s, middle 60s, it wasn't even a topic of conversation that we can't find reasonable health care for reasonable prices. It just wasn't even discussed, not an issue. We had all the emergency rooms we needed. And then the federal government starts getting involved. And the more they get involved, the worse it gets. And when the worse it gets, they say, wow, we need more involvement. So they continue to get involved. And now look at it. So for those people that can take care of themselves, get the government out completely. It's called medical savings accounts. You know what those are. Basically, it rolls over like an IRA. And if I go to a doctor today, and I say, Doc, I have a knee problem. I want an MRI. He says, really? He says, yes. I realize I pay for my insurance. I pay a fair amount, and I'm on Medicare too. For an MRI, it would cost me, I don't know, go pay $20, $30. I want an MRI. If instead I was spending my money, if I was on my medical savings account, and he was to suggest, hey Jim, you want an MRI? What would my response be? Well, I don't know, Doc. What's it going to show and how much is it going to cost me? If you ask that question today, the doctors don't even know how much it will cost. Cost is not a factor. Hence, by the way, guess what? The prices go up. And that's what we have seen. So if you get the government out of it, you use your medical savings accounts, competition will come back, entrepreneurship will come back, and you'll get much more value for your dollar. And you use some of it to buy catastrophic coverage. If I need a heart transplant or something, then the catastrophic coverage kicks in. So that takes care of, what, 75, 80% of the people in our country? What do you do about the rest? And the answer is pretty much the same as school choice. You give them a voucher of some fashion or a coupon, not a scholarship this time, and they can use it on the private market to purchase health insurance. So the competition will come out. The government's not involved, and this thing will work. Now, I don't have all the answers. None of us have all the answers, but that's what I would throw out there. Let's put our heads together, because I will have a safety net. But you understand, not because I have to. And I'll literally say this also in public, as long as I have time to explain. If you are bleeding on the street, I have no legal obligation to help you whatsoever. I don't, unless I help cause your injuries. But I will because I want to, because that's who we are. But it's different. And it's the same thing with a safety net. But I'm a libertarian, or I sometimes call myself a functional libertarian to get over the branding problem. Government is the last resort instead of the first resort. That matters to people. And it makes it different. Who is the first resort? You! You're responsible for yourself. What's the second? Your family. The social institutions, the religious groups, the foundations. But when it comes down to it, it's not because we have to, but because no one is going to starve to death on my watch. Nobody is going to bleed to death in the streets on my watch. Because we care. But today, we are incentivizing people to be on entitlement. We're putting all these incentives for that purpose. No! Incentives matter. Repeal the minimum wage laws. In fact, I've written a column about this. In fact, I'm doing my best to get this word out there. I use the word libertarian liberally. Okay, I use it a lot. I want people to think libertarian, wow, that's a good thought. That's a good, reputable, credible idea. So I am writing every week. I've done it now for 12 weeks, and I continue to do this. Every Monday, I send out by email something I call 2 paragraphs for liberty. And just make it short, 2 paragraphs, but just talk about particular issues. To get it out, I send it to all my email buddies, and I'm putting it on my website, and all this Twitter and whatever. I don't know what it is. But it gets out there. And let's talk about one that everybody will rally on. Liberty and the terminally ill. Liberty and the terminally ill. If you are diagnosed with a terminal illness, and you have 3 months, 6 months to live, and there's some called experimental drug out there, that maybe you have one chance in 50 that it will help you survive, or at least increase your quality of life, or even extend your life a little bit. Why in God's name should the government tell you you cannot use this? It is arrogant. The gall of the government to tell you under these circumstances, no, we're not going to let you use this, is unbelievable. Or even, if you know the chances are good that it isn't going to work, but you want your life to mean something, so you can at least be an example at the end of your days to show what doesn't work and help those that come behind us. What in God's name does the government have to say that you can't do this? It's a question of liberty. So that's just one of them. To get people on board starting thinking about liberty. We made a mistake in our campaign. Our campaign, do you remember what the slogan was? Live free. Okay? We know what that means, and we know how important it is, but it's a loser with regard to politics. Why? It doesn't put rice on my bowl. Doesn't help me feed my children. All of that sort of stuff. We're biting off too much. We care might be better. How about collapse the house of cards? That might be a bad okay? But we have to be practical, and we have to show people that if you vote for us, not only for president, but for secretary of state or city council, because that's where we need to go. And then we put in and implement these ideas, saying, hey, our city is spending less money now, and we're doing better. Who's this person? Yeah, you're a libertarian. We want more of those. And in fact, now we're going to run for the assembly or the legislature. Hey, I want to put you instead of in the city council. I want to move you up to the legislature. I like what you've done in the city council. We need to get good qualified candidates at the local level. I'm only doing this honestly because of Governor Gary Johnson. I called him and still believe he is the most qualified person to be president of the United States I know of.
Yeah.
Not because of what he says, because he says some really good stuff, but because he actually did this for 2 terms as governor of California. You know, he left the state with $1 billion surplus. He was a Republican governor, really libertarian, but working in a Democratic state, worked well with people, and he stands for something. I'd never heard about him. I was talking about this earlier. I'd never heard of him before. 1999, in Orange County, California, I opened my morning newspaper, and this Governor Gary Johnson, sitting governor of New Mexico, has said he's conducted his own audit and has found that the war on drugs is not working and we need to change it. He had no political constituency for that whatsoever, no political benefit whatsoever. In fact, he took a whole bunch of heat for it. But it was the right thing to do. Now, you can agree with him or disagree with him, I tell people. More and more, of course, people are agreeing. Thanks to Colorado, by the way. Let's give yourself a hand. The end of the war on drugs is now in sight. That proverbial light at the end of the tunnel is in view because of Colorado and the state of Washington. And we're going to do the same thing in California. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. But you know, don't you want somebody like that in a leadership position? And he said, you know, with a chuckle, when he, you know, the veto king of all governors, and left the state with his financial responsibility. Was it fiscally conservative? Was it financially responsible? Yeah, that's where he was. He was saying with a chuckle, you know, people were forecasting you would have blood in the streets with riots and children are going to be starving. None of that happens. It just brings financial responsibility. And then the question is, who is in a better position to decide how best to spend your money? You or the government? Well, we haven't thought about this. You know, that sort of thing. So that's where we need to be. It's where we are going. But let's not allow other people to label us. And that's been our problem. I'm proud to be a libertarian. I use the word liberty and libertarian a whole bunch. Number 2 problem. How many of you in this room are not libertarians? Better, 2. That's better than Indianapolis. Look, sitting here and agreeing with ourselves doesn't really accomplish too much. When you were with your friends, your email group, now I'll send you, if anybody gives me your email address, or I'll send to Amy, maybe you have emails for everybody, I'll send you the 2 paragraphs for liberty. Look at it. You can agree with it or disagree with it. That's okay, but use it in order to discuss these issues. And build up a social network. So Amy, I'll give mine to Amy, and if you would, pass it along to us, pass it out to your friends, and ask them to do the same. It costs nothing, but it gets the word out. We're starting to put things on the shelf, so when we have these problems, people will already be pre-programmed to understand that this will work. But you have to get the word out. I was proud when I was running for vice president. Go around the country. I'd fly alone, of course. It's silly to bring somebody with me. When I would land in New Orleans or Spokane or Denver, a libertarian would pick me up at the airport. I called them, you know, my mother hen. And they would drive me around. I wouldn't know what my schedule was. They'd say, well, we're going to do this and do that and everything. Those people were fantastic. They were educated, caring, dedicated, knowledgeable, intelligent, well presented. There just aren't enough of us. There just aren't enough of us. The purpose of a political party is not to stand here and say, boy, are we smart. Boy, our philosophy is wonderful. It's to elect candidates. And we've got to get these words out. And that means talk to your friends. Use the word libertarian liberally. Talk about our issues and expand the message. Now is the time. The third, the thing that cripples us is, you all know this, the wasted vote syndrome. We were polling in Ohio the week before the election in 2012. We were polling at 10%, as I understand it. And when the vote came 1 week later, as you'll recall, Ohio was a swing state. We got little more than 1.5%. When it came down to it, And we were talking, in fact, Nick was quoting some, I was not even as high as he was, and he had a study to prove it. You know, if it's in writing, it's true, but I was saying that at least 65% of the people in our country that put an X by Obama's name just voted against Romney. And I believe that. Nick said, he had the study, it said it was about 7%. And I would go so far as to say that at least 65% of the people who put an X by Obama's name were voting against Romney, or an X by Romney's name were just voting against Obama. And all of these watchwords we use, oh, you know, a vote for the lesser of two evils, you're still voting for evil, or a wasted vote is voting for somebody you don't believe in, and all that. It makes sense to people viscerally, but it doesn't work. The way we get out of this is to be a part of the presidential debates. And it's going to happen. We have our lawsuit filed on behalf of you, the Libertarian Party, National Libertarian Party, Governor Johnson and I, because we were the candidates before, are filing this lawsuit against the Commission on Presidential Debates, the Republican National Committee, and the Democratic National Committee. It's based on antitrust. And we have a draft of the complaint now, and it really reads wonderfully well. We have two really good attorneys. They're working for us. They cut their rates in half. One of them, Rocky Anderson, who was the former mayor of Salt Lake City, and actually was the presidential candidate for the Justice Party in the last election, has come out of retirement, reinstated his bar card because he believes in this so strongly. It's also, we are trying to get the criterion back to what it was when the League of Women Voters was in charge of the Commission on Presidential Debates. And that was any political party that's on enough ballots technically to win the presidency, mathematically to win the presidency, is a serious party, should have a seat at the table. Yep. Makes perfect sense. We were on the ballots in 48 states, obviously, should have a seat at the table. The Green Party was on the ballots in 40 states. We're going to bat for them as well. We're raising the money, they're tagging along and doing what they can, but, you know, we believe in competition, we believe in consistency. It's the American way, literally. You know, I don't say that stuff very often, but it's really true. And they are parties to this as well. When the League of Women Voters was being frozen out of the commission, because literally we have it in writing. There's a memorandum of understanding in writing between the Democratic National Committee and Republican and the commission, that if their candidates, it is prohibited for their candidates to take part in any form of a debate except through the commission. If they are offered, ABC News offers them free airtime and the other party candidate is there as well, they can't do it. So it's completely restricted to the commission. And they say, this is on their writing, this is bipartisan. Just the two of it. This is good for the Republican and Democratic parties. We believe we are the ones that should keep out other voices. It says all of this. The League of Women Voters, when they were frozen out, they were asked to continue but have no part in it, just use their name. They got out and issued a public statement saying, this is a fraud. We will not be a part of the hoodwinking of America. Pretty good for a neutral group. I mean, they're pretty democratic, but one way or the other. We use this. We're going to be successful, and if we can be a part of the debates, think of what this will mean. During the 2012 campaign, the Republican and Democratic parties actually chose who the moderators were going to be, chose all the rules, chose the issues that were going to be discussed, chose whether follow-up questions would be allowed or not, and said the answers will be restricted to 90 seconds. How much can you say in 90 seconds on some of these critically important issues? Had we been there, there were issues they didn't want to discuss. Obamacare, for heaven's sake. Romney was the architect of Obamacare. He didn't want to talk about it. Obama saw all of its defects. He didn't want to talk about it, and they didn't. Had we been there, would have forced the issue out. Who wins? The voters. Get more information, make these party candidates explain where they stand on different issues. The war on drugs, not discussed. Immigration issue, not discussed. All of our military adventurism, not discussed, except who's going to bomb Iran first. We're going to say, you know, we're not going to bomb anybody unless they bomb us first or attack us or our allies. You know, this is the most important political litigation, I believe, in our country's history in the last 50 years. It's the most exciting thing I will have ever been involved with, except maybe the birth of my children. And this is going to happen. Nick has, I guess I have, 2 folders here that have some information in it. If somebody here is interested in helping us disseminate this information, we need money. We do. It's going to cost, we know full well that the Republicans and Democrats are going to throw everything they've got at us. Motions to dismiss, motions to compel, protective orders. It's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to cost us about $850,000. We have about 1 at the moment. We're going to have this money by the 1st of June. That's our cutoff date. We're ready to file it. We can't file it unless we know that we'll be able to pursue it. Anybody remember a fellow by the name of Donald Segretti? Couple of old-timers. Donald Segretti was the Nixon dirty tricks guy. He was in the White House, and he really did come up with all this crazy stuff. I ran into him in an office building. I have a nodding acquaintance with him. And I was talking to him about our lawsuit. And he said, Jim, I'm a Republican. I know you. I actually respect you. I'd never vote for you. I will only vote for Republicans. But you should be a part of the debates. And even heavy, hardline Republicans realize it's just the American way to allow the discussion to be more equal. We're going to make this happen. And if we're a part of the debates, who knows what can happen. You can elect, who is the Democratic nominee going to be in 2016 for president? And it will be Hillary Clinton. Boy, am I smart. Who's going to be the Republican nominee? This is a little bit tougher, but in my view, it will be Jeb Bush. You know, so, okay, choose your dynasty, all right? That's what people are going to be faced with. Talk about voting against one or the other.
Let's make it a try.
And whoever wins.
Let's do it.
Then there's Gary Johnson. I hope he runs. In fact, I believe he will run for president in 2016. And then there's Gary Johnson as a part of the debates. And then we have a trump card. Anybody that believes in our values of financial responsibility and social acceptance will be welcome at the table. And in our cabinet, we will, yes, have libertarians, independents, but also Republicans and Democrats, as long as, again, they buy into our approach. And then when we're having political problems, hey, you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, go talk to your colleagues, get them on board. We'll give credit to anybody that has a good idea. Anybody that supports a good idea, credit is fine. We're going to work together for our country instead of this polarization that we're now seeing. And it is rampant today in Washington, of course, and everybody realizes that. More of these polls say, you know, I'm fed, more than 50% of the people countrywide say, I'm fed up with the two-party system. The time is right. And we will work for our country. We'll put in a coalition government. I don't care who it is. We want to have people that will get the right thing done for the right reason. It's exciting. So nail me. Ask whatever questions you have. I believe in what we're doing. I am proud to be a libertarian. We are on the upswing. Our issues are winning. You know, this whole drug policy thing, we're going to have an initiative in California in 2016 also. If that passes, and it will pass, I believe, we do our job anywhere near right. It's the end of drug policy, of drug prohibition. It's a libertarian issue. We've been working on this for a long time. Take credit. School choice. Marriage equality. You know, come on. We say, first it was racial equality. That's a constitutional issue. We stand with you. We stand that we will, in fact, have uniformity. We won't discriminate against anybody because of their race. This is a libertarian issue. Then it was gender equality. Same deal. Not going to discriminate against anybody regardless of their gender. And now it's marriage equality. It's a constitutional. Obama, remember how this came about? He sent Biden on to, what was it, Meet the Press, whatever, and kind of Biden in his own way. Geez, I wish I could have debated Biden. He said in his own way, well, you know, I'm kind of rethinking this whole gay marriage issue. And of course, I don't speak for the administration, and it's not really a federal issue, but you know, maybe this is okay. And he kind of looks around and sees, this was on a Tuesday. And then he saw, what was the response? And basically, it went across fine. There was no. 2 days later, Obama comes out. Well, you know, I'm kind of rethinking this whole marriage equality thing. Of course, it's not a federal issue, it's a state issue, but, you know, maybe so. Nothing happened. 2 days after that, on a Saturday, he was at George Clooney's house in Hollywood and raised $5 million, because Clooney, I guess, you know, had a lot of friends who were gay. So he makes this money without taking a position. We say no. We take a position. This is a constitutional issue. We stand with you. Be proud. Stand for this. These are our issues, and they're winning. And there's going to be more. We're going to do this for us, for our country, for our children. I go and talk with young people in universities now. First word out of my mouth, you know, I'm going to be blunt with you, but you're bankrupt. I'm doing real well, thank you. I actually have a government pension. I have some investments. My house is paid for. My children are grown and gone. I'm making more money than you are, but you're paying my Social Security. You're paying my Medicare. Thank you very much. Of course, it's not going to be there for you when you're anywhere close to my age. If you're not involved politically now, 5 years from now, you're sure going to wish you had been. We're doing this for you. Get started. And they're listening. Starting to form libertarian clubs around the country and universities. As well we should. We're it, guys. We are it. And it's going to work. And it's going to work because we're going to get this word out and be a part of the presidential debates and say, hey, there is a better way. And it's what? Libertarian. So thank you for your help. Thank you for coming out here on a Sunday morning. And thanks to everyone that is doing all of this. I think that does me. I'm going to end with a short story. And that is that there was a man on his deathbed. And at the end of his life, he called his wife to his side and said, you know, dear, I know I'm not long for this earth, but before I leave you, I just want to get something off my chest. That for a number of years now, I've been having an affair with such and such a woman who lives across the street. And I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but I think you have a right to hear this and hear it from me. She looked at him, she thought for a moment, then she said, that's okay. I know. That's why I poisoned you. In such a similar way, we are poisoning ourselves by frustrating the debate, by adopting these programs that are really, really effective to increase the size, the control, and the cost of government. But that's the only thing that comes out of it. You know, there is a better way. And all we need to do really is just to spread the word, stand up proud as libertarians. We don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. I proved that today just talking with you. But to put our heads together, have no fear of addressing these issues directly, work with other good people who are also anxious to do this, and we can really turn the course of the United States of America for our country, for ourselves, and for our children. And we're the answer that's going to get it done. Thank you for doing what you do. Let's get out there and do a little bit more. Thank you.